joining us. I'm Paul Wilson.
I'm Chris Hemke.
And this is Diesel Performance Podcast. Guys, we want to give a great shout out to our sponsors. We're going to play a plug for all of them right now. Want to give a big shout out to Calibrated Power, home of DuramaxTuner.com. Chris, that's where we work. That's where we love.
If any of our listeners are going to be at UCC this upcoming weekend, please come to the booth. We'll be there.
Chris and I will be there. We'll be there Saturday at 2 p.m. We're going to be doing a live transmission build. We have our expert transmission builder coming to the show. Specifically to put together a transmission in front of everybody. So you'll get to see everything going on. And Chris
we're going to
and
do
I
the commentary.
We're going to do commentary. We're going to pester him. We're going to ask him questions. We're going to take his 45-minute job and stretch it out for about an hour and a half.
No, it's going to be fun. And then also at UCC, another one of our longtime sponsors, Exergy Performance.
Oh, I love Exergy stuff.
So any of you guys out there looking for questions to be answered around common rail injectors, pumps, fuel lines, any of the sort, they'll have a booth. Go check them out.
Also at UCC is going to be our other two sponsors, WC Fab. The Whirly crew comes out in full force. They have one of the largest booths at the entire show.
I'll tell you what, we were with Jason last weekend at the Thoroughbred Showdown event, right, their Dyno Day. And Jason really does have a really slick booth. All the different powder coating that they have on display for all the different piping and Y-bridge kits and all the things that they have come to market with. It's really something that you need to go check out for yourself. The attention to detail over there with those guys are second to nothing.
Yeah, I think this year we should just send them home with our turbo display stands and let them powder coat all the covers, and then we'll go get them later.
Yeah, I think we should definitely give them our turbo display stands to light on fire. I think it's a revamp.
We love our turbo display stands. Come by the booth, check them out. You'll see what we're talking about. They're just not fun to move.
I got a hernia from last weekend, so.
God, you used to be tough, bro.
I used to be.
Used to be as tough as the parts you get from XDP.
You know.
Extreme Diesel Performance.
That was good.
Extreme Diesel Performance, XDP.com, your one-stop shop for diesel performance. They've been on board with us for a long time. Chris, you and I have worked with XDP for a long time. We've both gone out to the show they used to have out there on the East Coast. We know the guys out there. We love the parts out there, and they've built their brand to be better and better over time. So if you're looking for anything for your truck, take a look at XDP. You can find, I believe, Exergy, WC Fab, and Duramax Tuner products all on XDP.com. Let's get back to the show. All right, and that's all of our sponsors. We love having them on the show. They make the show possible. You could help, if you want to help us, help support our sponsors and let them know that you heard about them through Diesel Performance Podcast. Today, we got another returning guest on the show, Kenny Bruner. Kenny, how the hell are you?
I'm doing good.
You getting everything put together? I saw on Facebook you were working on some stuff in the engine bay, so we'll back up a little bit. Where are you at so far?
Well, the truck is running all together. Basically, it just needs a bath and some stickers put on it, and it gets loaded up tonight. We head out for Indy at 5 a.m. tomorrow. So the 40-hour drive will start then.
I was just going to say, it's not like it's a hop, skip, and a jump for you guys. You guys are all the way West Coast. You're in California, right?
Yeah, we're Northern California.
Shoot.
In case anybody's been living under a rock, can you tell our listeners about your truck?
Yeah, it's a 2006 quad cab short bed Dodge Ram 2500. It's got a Freedom Racing Engines deck plate engine in it, a couple of Garrett's hung next to it, GT55s, 48 RE, so we're still rocking the 48. We haven't made the transition to a turbo 400. Four linked in the rear, rack and pinion in the front, all fiberglass. It's got a lot done to it.
Now, if I remember correctly, when we had you on last time, a lot of the truck, 99% of the truck is fabbed by you. I would assume that still holds true?
Yes. I had to let some of my pride go and hop on board with the Freedom Racing Engines, the last engine I built, and I grenaded it trying to push a really big number, a couple or 6 months ago. And we decided to just up our game and get the full Freedom Racing Engine package. So that is now out of my control.
That's not that bad. I would say you swallowed your pride, you let somebody else fab your compound kit, fab your intercooler piping. That would be different. But the engine,
pretty understandable.
I'd rather pay somebody, hey, you have the expertise, just get it in here. I just want to make the number. I'll do everything else that you're really good at, right? It makes sense.
Yep. So, yeah, no, all the we still do all the fab work, the compound kits, the transmission. We still build, everything about the truck. Yep.
I remember seeing that truck a couple years ago, UCC, and it's definitely a work of art. You definitely have a skill set when it comes to the fabrication, the welding, all of that. So it's definitely something that, there's a lot of spectators that come out to that event. And with us being in, the Midwest, Illinois, there's a lot of trucks out on the West Coast that we don't get the opportunity to see. So it's nice to, bring some of that back here for us to be able to view and, appreciate.
Yeah, I'm just glad to be able to come out and make the trip. It's not as popular here anymore. It was for a little while, but it's just getting harder and harder to find competition and a bunch of other trucks that are willing to commit and go as far as we did in California. It's just people are cracking down, regulations are cracking down, and it just makes it really difficult to go to the level that we're at. So. Wish it could be better, but we have to go see you guys to get that level of competition.
I'd love to hear more about that. You have a diesel performance business based in California. How long have you guys been open? Tell us a little bit about your story with the business.
Yeah, I'll be completely honest with the business. So when I was I went to college and got a mechanical engineering degree, and the business just I did that on the side. I started making kits and doing custom work for people just to make money to get to college, and it kind of turned into a moonlight operation. And after I got my degree, I got a real job, as my wife would call it, and then I kept the business alive and just take on special projects like things that are performance oriented, turbo kits, 4-link design, cool stuff that I could fit in here and there. So I don't really do any of the repair or anything like that, but just kind of fun projects, I guess.
That's awesome, man. I think that's the dream, right? Of here I have a special niche and this is my hobby, but my hobby pays for itself.
Yes, and that's kind of the deal I've got with my wife is any money that comes through the hobby stays in the hobby. So.
Smart man. You don't get none of that. No, definitely.
I think one of our turbo builders, actually, the Chuck down there, had told me, he's like, man, if I could just get paid $0.05 an hour for my hobby, I'd be rich.
Yeah.
I preach to that. All right. So you're in this. How long is this? Your third time at UCC or your second?
No. This is my second, but I've been to every UCC since it started as a spectator. I make sure to go every year to see all my friends in the industry. But yeah, we got caught up in a house build, and for the last 2 years, we kind of had to live under a rock, and then now we got the house project done, and we're building the truck back, and it's all ready to go. So
were you doing?
We had to skip out.
Were you doing the house project in hopes, you aspired to bring the truck back and you wanted to compete again in UCC, or why, what's that vision look like? Why come back?
Well, I mean, of course I was missing it like crazy. So, I was biting at the bit to get back out there and racing, and, and I see everyone else is still making progress and taking the sport further. And I just wanted to get back in the game.
So what are you looking forward to most out of the competitions, right, that go on at UCC? What's your strong point, would you say?
The truck is fresh, brand new. We've always had a strong appearance in the drag racing. I mean, I say strong. In 2021 when we last competed, 550 was a pretty decent run at UCC. And we'd like to get lower than that. We'd like to get, 530, 520. I have no idea what it's going to do. We brought it out last weekend, and we clicked off a 580 on, fuel only, 850 microseconds, and, barely, a tip of the iceberg. So we think we've got potential in it. We've lost 600 pounds since the last time we competed. We went rack and pinion steering. We dropped all the stock OEM crossover, the track bars and coil buckets and all that stuff. So lost a lot of weight, got some better Hoosier tires on there instead of the DR2 radials. So got some Bogart wheels, really tightened it up, lost, rotating inertia, like brakes and drive lines and all that stuff. And we think it's got a lot of, potential to go quite a bit faster if we can get it to hook right. So that's, we think we're going to be good on the drag strip. The sled pole, man, I back in 2021, I still have the same tires because they haven't gotten much use out of them. That we had the mud grapplers, but they're a little small. I'd like them to be 35s, but they're 33s. So we're going to throw those back on, give them a shot. And, we're probably going to do it a little different this time with the strategy. We were kind of roll into it last time. And this time I think I'm just going to blow the tires off like everyone that beat me did last time. So, I was going to try to get some momentum first and not just spin my wheels, but it seemed like the guys that just nailed it right out of the gate just went farther. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to change up the strategy and just, I guess, take the sand paddle tire effect and just sling it. Yeah. So
I mean, depending on the track, right, and how it's prepped and what it looks like and where you go, that says a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have no idea. I have a decent idea of what the tracks look like here, but that track, I don't even know if we're in the arena this time or if we're on the sidelines of the stands again, like last year. So we'll see.
Yeah, we have been warned, there is some modifications to the ground. So the tower's not up right now. There's no media tower. There's just a shack. The whole tower's down, Cyril told us.
Oh, wow.
The track is supposed to be perfect, just like it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where and how and racing and all those details, that's not an us question, right?
Right.
But yeah, it is. I think it's going to be interesting, too, because they've moved this event back 2 weeks, I think. Didn't it used to be the weekend before Memorial Day, and now it's the weekend after?
Well, yeah, they did that a couple of years ago.
Yeah. But I think since they've done that, we've seen the trucks get faster, but I wonder about how much the weather plays into this, You're talking about midday runs in late May, early June. It's fucking hot. There's not much chance of getting a cold spell like we did in years past.
No.
But better chances of it not being rained out.
Exactly. Rain and humidity and whatnot.
Yeah. So there's a fight there. You said you clicked off a 580, basically not trying. Now guys are down below 5, so we're sub 5s. Yep. How hard are you going to push yourself when it comes to race day? I mean, that's Friday. That sets the pace for the whole weekend.
Exactly. Last time once we clicked off a 550 on our first pass, and then we upped it and just grenaded the transfer case. So we were like, you know what, let's just call that one good. I think, honestly, I'd be happy with a 530, 520. Yeah, sub 5 would be fantastic, but I know that is, a lot of people, try really, really hard for that 4 number, and, it takes some time, and I don't want to get greedy and just beat the truck up before the next event. My strategy usually is to go pretty hard, but stay consistent and don't try to blow it up on one event,
Mm-hmm.
So same with the dyno, the dyno, we've got the engine to handle it, right? But this is probably the first real event we'll have on that engine, and the last thing I want to do is, put 7 kits on it and just spray it to the moon, and then I go home without an engine. So I'm gonna probably just try to stay pretty consistent through the not consistent but conservative, I guess. Throughout the event, and hope it pays off.
What kind of horsepower are you expecting to make on the dyno? What's a win for you, or what are you expecting?
Honestly, it may sound like a low number in the UCC, but I would say 23 to 25 would be a pretty good number for me. 28, I would be absolutely blown away.
I mean, 23 to 25 is a solid number when you think of the grand scheme of things from a points perspective.
Yes, it's insane.
Well, yeah, from a spectator, right?
From the real world, yes.
But I think from a strategic way of competing, if you're able to hit that type of number, you could be one and done off the dyno. Like that's not a bad move.
Well, here's my pushback. Okay, last year we had somebody sub 5s. Last year we had somebody break 3,000. Sled pull's hard to judge. I understand, so it's hard to translate that data. So if you're looking for low 5s and you're looking for 22 to 2,800, what's your goal? What's a win for you on placing? Like, if you get 5th place, are you going to call that a win?
Honestly, just going to the event in my book is, after what it's taken to do this, I'll call it a win. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like
that.
I have sacrificed so much, and I'm just happy to be there and, represent all the people that have helped me with a beautiful looking truck and a strong contender. We're just out there to have a good time and, and pay back some advertisement for the people that joined us. And, I would be happy with, top 5, even happier with top 3. That first place, if we see, just like you said, 3,000 horse, 490 and a 300-foot pole, like that's probably going to be the first place, right?
Yeah.
And there's a couple of people that I have in my mind that'll probably be able to do that. We've got,
Who is it? Call them out. Yeah, that's call out challenge.
Yeah,
who do you think? Who do you think's a contender to be at the top?
I think Hunter Coffee with the Fire Punk truck. He's got just such a good coach in his corner. They know the recipes. They know how to make the horsepower. They've proven it. They've got a recipe that works. They've gone, the times. That truck, just got a billet block. It's real light. It's going to go real fast, probably into the 4s. I haven't seen how fast that truck has gone, but it's definitely a possibility. Greg A has, a fantastic working setup, but it's a boat. It looks really heavy.
It's a heavy truck.
Yep, and so if he can just keep getting Logan built transmissions in there, and keep those alive, I think he's a real solid, a contender with times. I think he clicked off like a 540 or something like that, and 3,000 horsepower with a nice Motec tune. It seemed like a real nice run, so I think that's a good contender right there, and he's already shown from last year that he can sled pull. Yeah. So that's another good one. And then I'm trying to think of some other people. Chris Patterson, obviously, Mr. 3K, he's got some horsepower there and has shown he can click off fast passes. I'm trying to think of more. Just those are some 3 people, 3 people that I think are going to be up there.
Is this a Cummins contest?
All Cummins.
Is this a Cummins showdown this year?
Not saying nothing, just saying.
Well, Tony's not here, right?
Who did we just talk to from DHD? Maury.
Maury's using their truck.
It's his truck.
Yeah.
Right. But is it their... That's the same truck.
I just interviewed him.
I know you did.
Yeah, last week.
So is it the same truck, just a different power plant?
Truck.
Okay.
No. It's his truck that he built. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a fresh build. I don't even know if that engine has started in his truck yet. So, it's that's going to be it looks like a nasty setup.
It does.
Looks light. Obviously it's got a nice big SoCal engine in it and some Garrett's on it. So it looks like it has potential too, but it's going to be hard with a brand new setup to just click off. It can be done, right? But
it wouldn't be my luck.
It can. I will say it's the tradition of UCC for nobody's truck to be ready until a week before at the most. If your truck is ready and complete and rolling 3 weeks before UCC, I don't know that you've ever landed in the top 5, and I would love to be wrong about that. But please, anybody who's ever been in the top 5 at any UCC and your truck was completed, put together, running, and ready to go 3 weeks before the show, email me along with lotto tickets because I'll take any numbers you pick, my friend. It's tough. It's tough. These are huge trucks. These are unbelievable, absolutely insane, unfathomable amounts of power piloted by people who sometimes are doing it as a hobby.
Oh, I think that's the thing.
Right? That's the reality of this.
The reality of this is when you think of, sports, right?
Yeah.
You think of football, you think of NASCAR, you think of any of these things, and it's the biggest event of the year. These people train and prepare, and this is all they do for that event. in the UCC, everybody has full-time jobs. This is either it's a hobby, or it's a shop that they need to keep the lights on to be able to afford the hobby or the truck that they are putting forth to compete
work
with.
to race.
They're not just, that's their 9 to 5 and hey, they just grind for UCC. That's not real in this industry.
Right. So where does that land for you, Kenny? I mean, when you're thinking about shops versus and you fall into this kind of quasi shop, kind of privateer, right? Who do you think is more dangerous? Who do you think provides a steeper level of competition? Is it the shops with the big backing, like the Fire Punk truck? And I'm sorry that I'm calling it the Fire Punk trunk.
I mean, it's
the Fire Punk truck. I get it. But
I mean, that's hard to compete with, right? You know, multiple trannies, multiple engines, ready to go. You know, it's and like a crew of 10 to 15. You know, it's like, well, I guess we do have the wristbands this year, although you know, I don't know how well did we have that last year? I can't remember.
The wristbands. Can you help clarify for our listeners? I don't think we dove too deep into that with Chris Cyril.
Yeah, I think it's you know, you get 5 wristbands and for pit crew, and that's who can touch the truck. Now, you know, I don't know how
that gets enforced.
Yeah.
Well, I have this thing about UCC rules I've seen in the past, and I won't call anybody out because I think they're going to end up being a guest on the show here in the next week or so. We've seen them write rules like you can't leave the grounds with the truck. That became a rule a few years back.
Yep.
And then the first time somebody wanted to go and test and tune on the street, instead of enforcing the rule, they did what I think is the right move. They asked all the other competitors, hey, do you want to allow him in or kick him out?
Yeah.
And all the competitors are all such nice guys. Everybody said, yeah, I'll allow him to stay in. Who cares? He just test and tune.
When you go and say no, that's bad juju. Like you have a bad energy.
It is, which is why I don't think it should be left up to the drivers. That's why I think if you're going to write the rules as the organization, it's on you to enforce them. It's not on the drivers to enforce the rules you wrote. Now, UCC is unique in that aspect because it actually provides a chance for competitors to provide feedback.
Yeah.
So if you're in the top 5, top 10, whatever the number is for that year, you get to be involved in the conversation of how should we change it, what rules should we make for next year. So there's some give and take on this, but I agree with you guys. If they say only 5 are allowed to come in and work on the truck and that's all you get, it's going to be tough to be there at midnight to see if that's all you really got.
Yeah, that's where you come in. You're taking that spot this year, I thought.
As the police?
Yeah, the popo.
You think me should be in charge of being the police for UCC? I'm going to let all of our listeners know that's a really fucking bad idea.
If you could see how large his eyes got bulging out of his head just there, it was, yeah.
I have thoughts on the topic. None of them are something I should say here. Anyways.
Please don't.
Kenny, this is your second time coming back. What are you going to do different this year than you did the last time you competed?
Well, we talked about the sled pull setup. I'm going to do that. I'm just going to hammer it right out the fucking gate this time. The dyno, I'm going to go with a controller this time. You know, usually I just ran the controller on the drag strip. I'm going to have the maximizer, which is our controller setup for the nitrous, to ramp in. So we'll have bigger solenoids, bigger jets, and ramp in the different stages this time instead of just, you know, going for the button in the basement. And, you know, that was risky, especially, you know, it'll be even more risky if we did that with our current nitrous setup. So we're going to, you know, ramp that in. And then the drag racing, you know, nothing real different there. Just kind of, you know, just hope the new setup, you know, works well.
Spare parts. What do you bring?
Yep.
I mean, you have a 40-hour drive. What are the parts that you bring as far as, you know, preparation for this?
Yep. I'll bring probably a spare turbo kit that's nowhere near the power potential of the one I have on there, but it is completely ready to bolt on. I'll also bring I've got 3 sets of clutches and seals for my current transmission. I've got a buddy, A2 Motorsports, Adam Aquino. He's going to be bringing out a trans that we'll probably throw in there too. You know, and we're bringing a spare transfer case. We learned that. And I'm trying to think of what else, you know. I don't think the engine is going to have any issues. I have faith in that Freedom motor. And then The injectors are brand new. I'm not too worried about those, but we'll have one spare injector. Pumps, we just got those, clean bill of health from DDP, and those look solid. So not bringing a spare pump, but yeah, mainly it's like the transfer case and transmission, and that's probably what we're bringing.
Yeah, modest.
It is. I mean, it's funny because if you think back to like year 2, 3, and 4 of UCC, guys were starting to ramp up to bringing on full-on lifts, semi trucks.
I mean, these motherfuckers were bringing spare trucks.
Yes.
Like, let's just call it what it is.
Like full on, like. So, Levon, the year he switched engines for each competition, just about everybody switches their turbo setup from day 1 to really 2 turbo setups, and they plan to use them, at different times. But it is surprising to me when we have guys like you, Ken, who have a smaller operation but still able to put together what I would call a scrappy finish. Where did you land the last time you competed at UCC? Do you remember?
I believe it was 8th or 9th, one of the two. I know it was top 10 because I was pumped just to be top 10 and just to go out there and do our best. But I think it was 8th or 9th. I think the drag racing, we were like top 5 or 6. It was like we had like 3 or 4 people click off a 550 something, and we just kind of stacked up all there. And then our dyno was like 1750 and like 2,600 foot-pounds. So the torque number helped us out, which I don't think it's going to be able to do that this year because I think it's horsepower alone. And then sled pulling wasn't the best event for us.
Do you not have a lot of experience sled pulling? How many times have you sled pulled outside of UCC?
Probably 15, 20 times,
Oh,
but
fuck, you're a pro.
That's a good. So there's actual. I mean, this sounds super ignorant. There's like actual sled pull events out on the West Coast, California. You have those.
Yes, correct.
Okay. I didn't.
I love that your statement was a question, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised.
Is it a lot in California? Because I've know of a few guys that were into it up in Oregon.
Okay.
I guess I've never watched footage from a California sled pull event.
Yeah, I mean, we do have, our local events. We got some good stuff, but nothing like the, super stock trucks or anything like that. We got a lot of 2.6 class, 3.0. Local guys. There's a lot more of the sled pulling around, and I was just talking about this the other day with a couple of buddies because we're having the drag tracks are getting shut down, and we lost another local drag racing track, and we're like, especially in my area, within there's nothing within 3-4 hours, so. It's getting real harder and harder to drag race, but the tractor pulling stuff is doing fine. So, it kind of sucks because I like drag racing, but, we'll have opportunities for tractor pulling, but we haven't really, done much testing on the truck in its current configuration, tractor pulling, especially, in the last year or two or with the new setup. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm not too worried. We still have same gear, same tires, same suspension type. So should be all right.
That's almost nothing the same. That's such a small list of things that are the same.
Well, the shell, it's still red.
Right. Yeah, it's still a Cummins.
Orange.
Yeah,
it's orange.
Sorry,
you motherfucker. God.
Burnt orange. Fuck. I'm colorblind. Leave me alone.
Ken, I'm so excited for this. Tell me, who do you want to give a shout out to? Who's been a big help as a part of your build?
Oh man, I've got huge shout out to Dynamite Diesel, Freedom Racing Engines, Banks Performance, and Banks Power. I like DPC converters. I've got my crew. I've got my 3 guys, Jordan, Jason, and Brandon. They've been here every night, helping getting this thing out the door, and I couldn't have done it without them. And of course, my wife and 2 girls. They have been just taking the back seat. Selfishly, I've been just putting 5 hours a night after work every day on this thing, and then the weekends all day. So they have sacrificed a lot, and good on them. They they know that once this event's over, it's time to take a break and give back that time. So
you're taking them to Disneyland after UCC? That's going to be a long
right.
2 weeks, man.
Yeah, I mean, this started in January. We cut the whole front of the truck apart. And
oh my god!
Basically, yeah. So they've been hanging in there. So we've been full crunch mode since then. I don't know how people do it faster. You know, I've seen a couple competitors just whipping it out, and I don't know how they're doing it. It's amazing though.
I love it. If all the stars align, if miracles happen, you pull out of first place. What do you do?
Oh, dude, just thank everyone that supported me, right? The shop crew I just mentioned, my sponsors. I thank my wife and kids, you know.
The correct answer was buy a second truck.
Yeah, right.
Do you think, regardless of your placement this year, do you think you'll be back? Is this your last time at UCC, or is this just one of many?
I think I'll be back.
Okay.
The addiction is strong with this one.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a long haul, but it's, you know, I think we'll be back. You know, my ultimate dream is to ditch the frame and make a full-blown tube chassis UCC truck where it's designed from the ground up on, you know, all three fronts, right? So
Paul and
such a fucking mechanical engineer. His dream is to design something awesome.
Paul and I just gave each other like the side eye emoji, looking at each other in complete awe because we want to see this.
Yes, I'm so on board.
Very cool.
Kenny, it's always a pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on.
Not a problem. Hey, if our listeners want to find out more about you or follow the build, what's the best place for them to see it on social media?
Yep, Instagram has the entire build from the beginning. Capital Diesel Performance.
Capital Diesel Performance. That's not a capital D. That's the word capital and then Diesel Performance.
Capital spelt with an A.
Capital spelt with an A. Okay. All right. Guys, for today, this has been Paul Wilson.
And Chris Emke.
Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for joining us today, guys. This has been Paul Wilson.
And Chris Emke.
Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you again soon. I want to give a big shout out to Calibrated Power, home of diesel.
Home of diesel.
It's like when you're trying to say something, you just fucking can't.